Dear Venerable Sir, dear Sister and the Dhamma Prince, this is the time for our today's Dhamma talk. To start the talk, everyone may consent with 3 times, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Kim pana uso kankha vitarana visuddhattang bhagavati brahmacharyang vussati iti no hidang ausoti iti. Dear Dhamma Friends, we are in our 4th day, and accordingly this is the 4th Dhamma talk in the series. So we have taken the Rathavinitha Sutta, the chariots, as the main topic for our series, and so far we have covered the basic 3 purifications, and today we are taking the 4th one, namely Kankha Vitarana Visuddhi, and that is been translated as purification gained by overcoming doubts. So this is this kind of purification placed on the 4th place, starting from the purification from virtues, that is the number 1. The second is purification by the mind or chitta, and the third one is purification by views. When someone is successfully gaining this the 3rd layer or 3rd purification, he or she will be advanced, if progressing, advancing will meet up with this Kankha Vitarana Visuddhi, that means overcoming by doubt. So in yesterday we managed, or we tried to see the kind of purification that we are going to gain by correcting our views. That means whatever the object we are going to pay our attention, whenever the object becomes very face-to-face and continuously applying, we are going to get all the facets possible of that particular object. Namely, as an example, if you take the in-breath and out-breath, you must try to see all the possible facets of that particular object, so that we are slowly purifying our views, and ultimately whenever you are to see all these facets, you will understand the observed object and the observing mind are the things you can see. Besides that, there is no other mystic or any kind of a pit or any soul to find. So therefore, whatever the possible facets of the in-breath and out-breath, you have to keep on observing. So when you are observing, you will come to know as and when you are fulfilling all the possible facets. This is how, for anyone who is going to take this subject and meditate, you are developing kind of a universal knowledge on this in-breath and out-breath. So, in order to the main result or the main function of this good view is to understand there is no ego, there is no pit, there is nothing unverifiable as far as the observation is thorough. But even then, you will understand whenever you are observing the object, namely the in-breath and out-breath, you observe when it becomes gross and fixed. But that does not indicate you have not seen, does not indicate that you have seen the complete picture. That is why the Buddha advised to see the beginning part of the in-breath and the beginning part of the out-breath, so that you are developing the mindfulness or increasing the efficiency of the meditation, so slowly you are going to see the subtle part or subtle arising part of the in-breath and out-breath. More and more your sensitivity increases, you are reaching into the subsurface level or submarine level, and more you go there. In a Western terminology, we can say we are going to the unconscious, from the conscious to unconscious. So whenever that penetration happens, that is going to give a complete picture about the phenomena, namely in-breath and out-breath, so that there's a kind of opening of windows or opening of doors to unknown areas, whereby the internal, external limitation and gross and subtle limitation and likings and unliking, kind of all the limitations will be opening windows. So that is how you go from the non-fixed in-breath to the arising part. Equally, you will be exposed to see the cessation of the in-breath also. So, for the first time, you will see the beginning, the middle and the end. So, even though you start at that level, you have to master that whole exercise so that your sensitivity, the effectivity, the efficiency of the mindfulness is increasing. More and more it is to increase, the slowly penetration happen, so that you are going into the understand the totality of the in-breath and out-breath. So this is one of the attributions or functions of the mindfulness. So later commentary exegesis, it says, whenever defining the mindfulness, it says it is character is non-superficiality. If the mind is not trained, if the mind is not mindful, that means it will just see the superficial and come and say, I see, I touch, I know, kind of adamentation. But without accepting that superficial value or face value, if you are developing the mindfulness, it will slowly go deep into that. So therefore, the first and foremost character of the mindfulness is to go deep into. For that, what you start, the basic is what is prominently, what is appearing, the gross, the fixed, the object. And taking that as object and make it consistent with the noting mind, and when you go to the deep layers, you are sharpening the mindfulness. When that happens, definitely the mind has to be face to face with the object, and it will be rather clear or free of hindrances, otherwise very difficult to develop that kind of sharpness of the mindfulness. So therefore, naturally the hindrances are less. That is the function of the mindfulness. When the mindfulness work in one's mind, and you can understand, it is keeping all the unwanted thing away and keep the object of meditation face to face with, and therefore more and more subtle part going to reveal. That is the function of the mindfulness. So when that happens, if I am excused to use this Western terminology, you are going into the unconscious, from the conscious to unconscious, according to the yesterday's example, from the tip of the iceberg to the whole total body of the iceberg. So when that happens, the contact is assured. Forthcoming in-breath and forthcoming out-breath is always be face to face with the noting mind. So contact is definitely with the fixed object. In-breath to out-breath it is changing, But anyway, as and when it arises, mind is ready, mind is mindful, mind is vigilant, mind is diligent. So when that happens, the contact is somewhat under control, and there, first and foremost thing is to understand this noted object and the noting mind is the only thing. That means this is mentality, this is physicality, this delimitation or limiting discrimination going to take place. So that indicates, as far as the phenomena is concerned, there is no self-ego, there is nothing called a pit. But when you are going into the unconscious, you are bound to see not only the self-ego, there is no the creator God also, because the beginning also, not only the middle, the fixed one, even the beginning if you penetrate into, that is also nothing but the mentality and physicality. But they are the commentators showing some of the aspects. It appears to be something worthwhile to take notice. When you go deep into this unconscious, you will rather understand more clearly what character type you are belongs to. So at the beginning, you cut into the this is physicality and this is mentality, and without be happy there. Instead, if you go penetrating, pondering and going deep into that, there are three possible pathways out of this contact. Some may be more sensitive or more obsessed with feelings. Yet another person may be more sensitive or more obsessed with perception. Yet another person may be specializing or more sensitive or more obsessed with volitional activities. So therefore, as and when you go into this unconscious area, or according to the Theravada tradition, we can say mental factors, that means chetasikas, these three, Vedana Chetasika, Sanya Chetasika, and all the rest, the bunch, is known as Sanskara. So this will be the three character types can manifest. But for a single person, all the three are not relevant. Each one has their own character type. So if you are carefully keep on observing the beginning of the in-breath, the beginning of the out-breath, or end of the in-breath, end of the out-breath, unexpectedly sometimes sensation may start. So far sensation was fairly under control. As the meditation increases, as the mindfulness sharpens, as the concentration increases, the kind of a sensation going to start. So, unless otherwise you are prepared and instructed, this will appear like a backward step, appear like a unwanted hindrances or unwanted distraction or unwanted disturbance going to happen. Basically what happens is, your sensation in your epidermis, something like water flowing, or crawling animals, or little muscle dance, or goosebumps, all the things going to happen. So, but the uninstructed yogi, or uninstructed person and unprepared person, definitely read them as something negative. Because it is natural, because they expect something to happen in the very smooth, more mindfulness, more concentration and serenity. Instead, there are some amplification of the sensation, basically from the epidermis. And some people going to feel the heartbeat, or some people at the end of their fingers, some beats are going to happen, earlobes, and near the eyes, near the nose, around the face, mouth, some kind of sensation, the heaviness and all the thing going to happen. So this is an indication you are a person, your character type is more toward the feelings. But this is not a must. This is not a invariable thing for each and every person. Some people, that is the way it happens. That is, they become sensitive, they become obsessed, they become specializing the sensation. So therefore, more and more the subtlety happen. With respect to the unconscious, you see your conscious mind is more concerned about feelings, more concerned about the hedonic kind of consideration. So, if you go unprepared, definitely you will reconsider as to change the object of meditation. Or sometimes you tend to feel like forced breathing, because you don't invite this kind of sensation. Or sometimes you get up and go. Or sometimes you can escape it by falling into sleep. These things can happen. That is why there are doubts going to happen unless otherwise you are prepared. And the situation becomes more complicated, or in the way we can say varietal entertainment, because some people get more hooked up with perceptions. That is, they are going to understand how when the feeling is going to happen, it's a feeling, how our mind is going to put a label it as a pleasurable feeling or painful feeling, and the welcoming nature for the pleasurable feeling and the hateful feeling into the painful one. The pleasure and pain is not intrinsic to the feeling. It is happening due to the perception. As and when the in-breath happens, there are some feelings going to happen. So these feelings are being labeled or cognized and recognized or apprehend, and reification happen. Ultimately, what the label you put, that is also done by the perception itself, and that very perception will second the thing and then understand this as a pleasurable, this as a painful. Whoever going to tell you this is just a perception, you will never understand as it is, because perception working in such a subtle way, sometimes in the perverted way. So therefore here you can develop a thesis how a concept can be a reality. How when the feeling happen, how you put a label, ultimately you recognize this as a reality. And then you are going to fight against that. You are going to prove it again. So therefore, whenever the people, those who are more with the sensational type, they make their dreams as a reality, makes their concepts and reality. This kind of people always argue. Very difficult to convince them, because they are thinking kind of people, and end of the argument, even if you are going to win, it is leading to doubts. He himself knows, even you argument you can win it, you know that you have achieved, you have arrived at something wrong, so lot of doubts going to happen. So therefore, unless otherwise you go prepared, unless otherwise you are armed with theoretical knowledge, these doubts definitely going to undermine you. The third type is the volitional type, or willful people. So they also, whenever they are going to see their character type, with respect to the unconscious background, they feel like adjusting something. They feel like purifying something. They feel like reforming it. So therefore, soon they see they can't do away with thinking about how to refine it, how to do it in a better way, how to improve it. So ultimately they get engaged in with this kind of a future planning, excitements and remorse regarding the future. So even if they are going to efficiently going to think about the future planning and kind of thing, ultimately lot of doubts going to happen. So therefore this is the kind of place where that your real reshuffling of your personality, or liking and disliking going to happen. So therefore, when you are reaching this stage, you must have a complete broad-mindedness. Otherwise, you will never go beyond this level. So, verily, the commentators understood this is the point where vipassana start in the real term. Up to that also, of course, vipassana. Otherwise, you can't come up to this purification of views. But this is the point, really you sacrifice your likings and disliking. This is the point you are really ready to sacrifice your personality traits. Those who are not happy, not ready for that, or stereotype, very difficult to go beyond that. So that is kind of a negative mark for elderly people. Elderly people are already set with their liking and disliking and personality, unless otherwise they have young mind, or radical mind, or kind of a revolutionary mind. They always caught up with one or the other, either feeling or perception or volition. So, even if you are in a rut due to your way of life, even if you are going to hook up with feeling, maybe for example, if you are ready, if you have a trustworthy teacher or trustworthy spiritual friends and noble people, you can talk with, share with, and understand this is a character trait, this is a given fact. So therefore, you are always obsessed, always get the bottleneck of feelings. So therefore, you have to see this is a very important, crucial diagnosis. And that will be a healing effect if you are ready to accept it as a discovery or diagnosis due to the meditation. But instead, if you are going to react into these feelings, that will be the end of your progress. And exactly the perception, when the perception happens, you can make up a lot of theories. You can make up a lot of philosophizing, theorizing, and concepts. But you have to understand they are nothing but concepts. Don't try to fight with, don't try to argue with. If you are going to fight and argue, your adamantation only going to develop. Instead, with the faith of a noble teacher or noble friends and Dhamma friends, you have to understand, you have to surrender. And that is very difficult for elderly people. And young people, they have no much of fixed characters like concepts, philosophies and kind of thing. They find easy. That may be the reason the Buddha says, earlier the better. If in the early young age, if you can come up to this cervix, the bottleneck, and if you are sharp enough to understand your own character type and ready to reshuffle it or reconsider it, very easy. But even if you are elderly person, I am taking as an example for you to highlight this point, even if you are an elderly person, if you have enough faith, if you have the resolute determination, that very difficult is the indicator, is the symptom for you to understand who am I. And there, the diagnosis is very important, because unless otherwise this kind of thing, there is no any other secondary equipment or formula or anything to understand who am I. And therefore, at this moment, all the difficulties are becoming your guideline, become your beacon light, and there you have to have a welcoming idea towards your own bottleneck, your own obsession, your own karmic forces. And the volitional type also, exactly the same. They are usually the reformists. They never can look at the situation and wait. Whenever they see any phenomena, they feel like reforming it. They feel like adjusting it. They feel like make it efficient. So ultimately they get obsessed over there. So therefore at that moment, all the worldly knowledges and worldly capacities, worldly abilities all become a hindrance. Unless otherwise you are happy to see under a different glass. So it is a real hurdle. Real hurdle. Therefore, the commentators, they say, if someone can understand the very subtle areas of the in-breath, the very subtle areas of the out-breath, and very cessation part of the in-breath, cessation part of the out-breath, you are confronting a kind of a very sensitive area, very important area. Over there you have to take time and to expect a lot of doubts going to happen, but it is something not of your mistake. It is a diagnostic. And according to the diagnosis, you must understand what character type, and accordingly you have to work it along backward. Deconstruction work has to start. So therefore all the difficulties, all the impediments becoming a symptomatic or indicator for you to understand. So therefore, whenever someone is successfully passing it, they are being known as Chullo Sotapanna. That means you are experiencing the Sotapanna level at the preliminary level. And if you can maintain that state, it says you will, if you can maintain this level even without going to the full-fledged Sotapanna, up to your deathbed, you will never go to the netherworld or apayas, because your mental state is fairly reformed, fairly refined. So therefore, this area, up to that point, interviews are very, very important. Discussions are very, very important, and you must not, I will put it the other way, you must understand the danger of assuming. You must be unassuming. You must have a choiceless awareness. You must have the evenly suspended attention. And if you are going to assume, if you are going to react, if you do not have evenly suspended attention, if you have the partial kind of decisions, that itself will be your trap. So this is very sensitive area, and that is how, even if you are going to get the views, even if your views are being purified, the overcoming doubt is becoming a stage, becoming a hurdle only for a successful yogis, but the good omen appear like a bad sign, or bad omen. So you have to read it in a constructive way. That is, when I am reading the other religious books, not in a single other places I have seen this kind of a place. So in order to explain it, I would like to quote some of the Western researchers. It has done by the person called Daniel Brown. I heard the cassette, but some of the other I missed it. And recently I saw some kind of references. It says when a person is coming up to that level, they are going to get feelings, very extremes, very pleasurable feelings, and sometimes very painful feeling. The feeling become amplified. And those who are going to feel pleasurable feeling, they understand this is something extraordinary. And sometimes some people feel perceptions, they can perceive in such a clarity, understand why I was so much hooked up with this frictional part, because I have not developed this perception so far. Now onward I can understand the least frictional part, and the future will be clear. So such people develop the ability for communication perfect. They can, short to the point, they can talk, they can understand what the people are articulating, and therefore they become a special kind of a confidence. And the person, those who have the volition type or will, they understand we have a kind of unsatisfactoriness to the present moment. That is why we are thinking about creativity. That is why we are thinking about productivity. Because the present moment we don't know how to entertain. So therefore, whatever you are going to give, you are thinking about a better position. That means you are not entertaining here. You are not contented here. You are not satisfied here. So if it is the case, whatever the capacity, assets, abilities going to have, never going to have a peace. So he or she will understand how to say enough, how to be happy. So when that happens, they are coming into a decisive or important stage. So when Daniel Brown wanted to check it, he has taken different meritorious young people telling they are undergoing an experiment, and definitely they are belong to different sects, different beliefs. Some people are Hindu, some people are Muslim, some people are Sikh, some people are Catholic, and some people Buddhist. And the thing I can't understand is, all of them have, according to this experimenters, the understanding, come up to that level. We Buddhists believe it is only belongs to Buddhists. But the Hindu people, Catholic people, Sikh, Muslim, everyone has come. And he has asked them to interpret this stage. And when it is happening, you develop your mind into the kind of a capacity, you can't handle it even. So much of the abilities are going to come. And whenever the Muslim, the Hindu person going to explain it, they would say, these things are explained in our books. These are the qualities of the Brahma. Brahma has all the capacity. So we are being taught this is not possible in this very life, but in my case I experience it. It is having so much of potential. So I understand the value of the human mind. This is what the goal of our teaching. But our teaching says it is not in this life. But I experience it. So thank you very much for selecting me for the experiment. So whenever a Catholic person going to interpret, he also will say, this is the characteristic given in the omnipotent God. You have all the capacities. And we are very happy that we can experience it. But our religion talk, not possible in this life, not possible for one person, but we experience, thank you very much. And when you ask the Hindu person, they will say, this is what the Muhammad see when he is meditating in the cave. So mind come up to such a maturity, that is our final goal. And all the religious believers understand, but the Buddhist person, he has told, this is the beginning of the meditation. All the others say, this is the end of the meditation. So much of a difference. So therefore, whenever these things happen, you have to really, really reconsider. You have to really, really be ready to understand, not to caught up due to your half-hearted decisions. Don't caught up with partial conclusions. Take it completely open issue. Then your development is unhindered. So, in that cassette itself, the Daniel, he says, my idea is not to compare the different beliefs, but I am going to say the Buddha explained this to bring up to this point and says how much our past upbringings and the cultural values are going to interpret our own experience. So therefore, whatever the experience, when the person is expressing it, his or her background is the most important thing and most decisive thing, not the very experience. So therefore, whatever you are going to experience, you are looking through your tinted glasses. You must not let that happen. That is why it says, you must be unassuming. You must be choicelessly be aware. You must be, even have the evenly suspended attention. Sometimes it is suspended decisions. But the present day result-oriented kind of society, people coming from different, they are always chasing behind the results. They are meditating for quick results, so such people are definitely get trapped into that situation. Because they wanted to know whether what stage am I? Am I in the Sotapanna level or am I in the Sankarupekka level, or am I in the Udyabbe Jnana level, or is it a Samatha, or in the Vipassana, am I progressing or not? So much of unwanted repercussions. If you open my email and see the number of comments I am getting for each day, daily, happily, some people are experiencing it. That is a happy news. But at the end, they want to ask, I am asking Bhante, am I on the correct path? So much of doubt. And sometimes they consider that doubt as a sign of their inquisitive knowledge, inquiring mind. But it is a hindrance. It is another kind of, out of 5 hindrances, doubt is one. So, intellectual people are definitely caught up there. People with faith, fairly safe. But those who have the inquiring mind, those who have the inquisitive mind, they will caught up because the doubt will camouflage as the knowledge and you keep on scrutinizing. Therefore, you are never to experience it, never to be happy with it. You are in a very good, important stage, but even then, if you are going to entertain doubts, and if you are not ready to sacrifice your life and the death, the body, this is the point you have to sacrifice. Even maximum I will go mad, never mind. Or if the mad I will die, never mind, then no problem. But you did not think about that. You want to have the quickest, shortest results. So, recently also in one place, one person asked His Holiness Dalai Lama that you are a very religious master and you are a world-renowned person. What is the quickest, shortest, most efficient method to go to Nibbana? He says, I would say the quickest, shortest, efficient and the cheapest method, and I would say there is no such. This is the way people wanted to have. So here you have to give the due respect to the Dhamma, you have to understand something happening. Don't try to measure it. Don't try to scrutinize it. That means I am not telling to sacrifice the whole your wisdom and to give the whole chance for the faith. But here, as far as the overcoming doubt is concerned, is a trap for intelligent type, intellectual type, scrutinizing type. So there you have to balance the wisdom and the faith. You have to run a risk. You have to take some part and never mind, I will try it and see. So then only you can understand sometimes unwanted pains going to happen. Feelings going to happen, pleasurable for painful, but never mind, you have to bear it up. And sometimes the perceptions. And it says, when the perceptions, the people, there's a kind of a people, they are perception oriented, they are going to develop extrasensory perception and healing powers and reading the past and the future, the reading the minds of the other people kind. So much of it going to happen. So if such people going to specialize that kind of thing, definitely it will be a trap and it will be the hindrance for the meditation. They must hide them and always try to keep the meditation with the primary object as much as possible with the mindfulness as such. So nowadays in meditation, specifically when you are observing in the Western countries, they are result oriented and they are healing type, they are curing type, and if you have such a short objective, definitely this will be a trap. And if you are a reformist, you can't look at the something and wait. Whenever this mind becomes prolific, you develop so much of projects. You must understand how the whole world leads to the Nibbana and how to make a Dharmarajya. Everyone must be Buddhist. Everyone must be holding 5 precepts. Everyone must be meditating. So these are dreams. Even the Buddha never had that kind of a thing. Because he was a wise person, but so those who have the half-hearted, half-boiled people, they are making plan for the whole nation. Because they think it is possible now because I got it. So ultimately that very thing became a trap. So therefore, if you have a shareable, trustworthy friend or a teacher, you have to share, and they will also not tell directly. They will hint you, never mind, you just wait and go. But you want to have a quick results, quick answer, quick interpretation, but that means the advantage. So you have to calm down, and calming down also you will understand whatever the qualities you are going to develop. If you are doubting it, it will be a prison. It will be a agony. It will be a distraction. So you have to understand there is an age or there is an episode in this drama. The doubt is becoming a hindrance. So you have to understand doubt as doubt. Don't try to answer all of it. That is nowhere possible. So therefore, certain amount of trust must be there. Certain amount of wisdom you must understand. It is the time, the overcoming, the purification by overcoming doubts. So when I am overstressing, it appears like I am discouraging you from asking questions. No. You can ask any question, but you must have limits. Everything you can't achieve by asking question and getting the proper answer. There is no such a way. You have to refine yourself. You have to adjust yourself. So therefore, in the meditation at a time, so much of questions going to happen. So therefore, if you are aware, if you are going, be prepared, and when that happens, if you can understand, you can rather make the situation to understand who am I, what character type I have. So it says those who are with the desire as the leading character, they will get hooked up with feelings. Those who have the conceit as the character type, they will hooked up with perception. Those who have the egoistic type of thing, they will hooked up with volitions. So therefore, understanding is good, but that understanding never give any happiness. It is like understanding your weakness, understanding your defilement, but it's a great understanding. It's a very good leading one. So therefore, with the help of the others only you have to understand it. You yourself can't. Without a comparison, you can't. So therefore, you have to share with others, expect others' criticisms or dialogue, and then only you have to understand. So this diagnosis happens. What happens is, ultimately, you will see, whenever you are proceeding beyond the materiality or corporeality, mentality is the next stage going to be prominent. That means when the mind, the breath, the body become calm, you come to the so-called inner space or the whole body experience, one or the other thing will appear. Either feeling or perception or volition going to happen. If you are a type with the feelings, sometimes very extreme kind of pleasure happen. Equally kind of excruciating kind of pains also going to happen. So what you have to do is, equally you have to consider pain and pleasure without a reaction, assuming, and appear like it's quite a challenge. And whenever pleasure happen, you have to understand as a pleasure. Whenever the pain happen, you have to understand the pain. But even beyond that, you can justify it. Even going beyond there, you can rationalize it by understanding the teaching of Sister Dhammajiva. She says the beginning of the pleasurable feeling is pleasurable, but when it is leaving, ceasing, it's a pain. The beginning of the painful feeling is painful, but when it is leaving, it is pleasurable. So add into 2 and divided by 2, equal in the pain and the pleasure. That is in a rationalization you can do. So the day you understand the pain and pleasure is nothing but feelings, and what you keep the bookkeeping, you will understand most of the time you have no such a thing called pain and the pleasure. You will come to know no pain, no pleasure situation. The adukkama sukha area, and that is not a gain from the meditation. It is just a recognition. Because verily, the Sister Dhammajiva says, you are most of the time maybe in the no pain, no pleasure situation, but the ignorance won't allow you to take it as a significant escape. Because you are so hedonic. You are in the pleasure-seeking game. You are always pursuit of pleasure. So therefore, you always have a bias, paralyzed kind of understanding. You never understand the meditating on pain is helpful. Or meditation of pain, equally important than pleasure. When that lesson is through only, you will come with the no pain, no pleasure situation. That is the way out. That is the point you are really touching into your ignorance. So, even the pleasure and the pain going to happen, you have to understand it's just an episode by keeping the good account or bookkeeping or understanding in the choiceless awareness way. The day you come into the no pain, no pleasure situation, you will understand whether sitting or walking or day-to-day activities exactly the same. In the sitting also you can have some experiences of no pain, no pleasure. Exactly the way in the walking meditation also you can experience. Even in the day-to-day activities you have. So therefore your posture becomes immaterial. Through pain and pleasure. Posture is immaterial. Whether you are sitting or walking or day-to-day activities. If you know the art to go to the no pain, no pleasure. Exactly the perception, whenever something happens, our mind is jumping and labeling it as a good or bad, auspicious or unauspicious, gainful or lost or kind of thing. But if you do not know they are just mere as labels, and if you are going to take them as reality, you are the one will be taken for a ride. So if you label as label, if you can understand, ultimately when the in-breath and out-breath become unperceivably there, you will never waiting for something, you will be really experiencing the position where nothing can be experienced or nothing can be perceived, but you consider this as a least frictional path. No friction. You have nothing to experience, nothing to perceive, and it is a better than experiencing or perceiving something, because the perception itself indicates some kind of a ignorance, some kind of a tear and wear, friction. So whenever that happens, you will never ask Bhante what to do next. Otherwise, always asking, now I have come to the free areas, no pain, no pleasure or no perception, what is the next? That means you want to have put some filth into that, some dirt into that. Then only it becomes dramatic. Otherwise it is boring. Otherwise it is monotonous. So therefore always asking, now I have come to that, then what? That means you are not ready to experience it, ready to be contented with that. So it is very difficult to convince, because our mind has been in a rut for long samsara. Always we have to have something. Unless otherwise you don't feel it. So therefore perception wise also, you go often, for example in between in-breath and out-breath, each time the gap means no perception. You can't perceive it. And totally when the in-breath and out-breath ceases to exist, also you go to a place, no perception, but you never welcome it. You try to put something, either to accept it, so good or bad, auspicious, unauspicious, judgmental mind. So if you suspend that judgmental mind and be wait, and that will be a middle path and opening. And the next thing is the volition, the will, the motivation. Whenever everything happening, you don't know how to put into autopiloting. You consider as you being a pilot and you being the captain, why should I put into autopiloting? And take it to under your control. I mean, that is the mistake of the parents. They don't know how to give the liberation or freedom for the children. They always fork fingers into. They always think that the children are not mature enough. I have to teach them to do this and that. Ultimately what happened is children start hating them. Hating the parents. So what to do? But still, parents say that they are childish, they are hating, never mind, still you are parenting. So unwanted the distraction in the communication. So whenever the situation becomes mature, you don't know how to withdraw. This is very, very important. For example, when the breath becomes subtle, if you know at the beginning to see the in-breath and out-breath, the discrimination, you have to note it, you have to scrutinize it, you have to penetrate it. There the will is there, there the volition is there, there the vitakka vichara there. But when the breath becomes calm, breath becomes docile, breath becomes face to face, there even without noting, without propelling, it will be face to face. Under such circumstances, you must withdraw, instead see it very clearly. And ultimately, when it becomes so subtle, even if you wish to note, you can't. If under such circumstances you are going chasing behind and noting, means asking for headache, asking for giddiness, asking for tension. So when you are in a retreat, the first day, second day, third day, definitely you have to have a propelling and the noting power and everything to make it calm down. But third day, fourth day, like if your retreat is good, soon you sit, you are bound to see a very calm and quiet breath. Under such circumstances, if you are going to note them, if you are going to apply more and more vitakka, that the whole unturbulent flow will be with turbulence. So you have to understand, if the breath is calm and quiet, start from the point that it's there. Don't try to go and agitate it. So that is how to withdraw is very important. That is a kind of a sankhara or motivational. So when the meditation is progressing further and further, rather than doing, you know the art of letting happen. Let go. So that is the very difficult to write a technical book, where to let go. By trial and error you have to understand. Often what I say is, when you are driving a car, when you are putting the first gear to the second gear or second gear to the third gear, at the beginning you have to raise the engine, giving little fuel, and then the clutch. And then you have to enter into the gear that that is necessary. So how much acceleration, when to enter the gear from the second to the third under the release clutch, very difficult to write in a technical book. Not a single engineer can tell this much you have to give the gas, this much you have to release the clutch, and this is the point you have to put in. It is, you have to learn by trial and error. Exactly the way the first gear is consumption so much of fuel, and speed is very low. Engine is running at a very fast. But when the engine is in the vehicle is in the momentum, easily we can run it by the second gear, less fuel, and running will be smooth. And when and where possible, you must go into the third gear and then to the top gear. More and more you go there, less and less fuel, momentum is increasing, so you must then and there decide where to put it to the second to the third to the top, and sometimes there's yet another top gear, and there the smoothness happen. And when the problem happens, how to go back to the heavy gears, that the driver has to decide. And that is why engineers are very poor drivers. Engineers can't drive. Normal driver can do it. So likewise, by knowing the theory, no help. But trial and error is a completely different thing. So when the meditation is advancing, you must know where to put into autopiloting and see. That means you are running a risk. You have to run a risk, then only you get the first-hand experience, and trial and error, or your own ways and means, and that is how you make it your own experience. It is not the experience of the Buddha. It is not the experience of the teacher. You are gained, but once you learn the art, and once you gain, it is very difficult to tell others. They themselves have to do their own mistakes, their own trial and error, but you can see the general methodology. So therefore this, even if you develop the overcoming by doubt, overcoming by the view, the next purification by overcoming doubt, is a very sporty. It is very radical. It's very challenging. And my interpretation is that you will start laughing. I would say by overcoming doubts, all females become males. All females become males. You become a Boy Scout like. You are ready to do anything, take any risk and run. Usually female are little shy and little backward when the how do you call the questionable thing happen. Males are dashing through kind of thing. But after this jnana, you are transvestitis. Go into the other thing. But maybe you are ready to take your life, you are ready to do any experimenting and dash. That is onward only you are really designated as the Vipassana yogi. Till that you are wavering. Till that you want to have exactly the pedantic, real, nothing waste kind of thing. But then onward you are ready to do any kind of test. And your life is becoming an experimental ground, and that is called the noble quest. So therefore, this is really a kind of a shedding off of your worn out skin. And you are ready for the next stage. But that does not indicate this is happening once and for all. Each and every sitting, we have to rehearse it. By rehearsing only, slowly, you understand your whole human life. The whole, the noble quest is to have all the necessary the qualities or mental qualities like faith, the energy, mindfulness, concentration and wisdom, and put into the risk and learn how to get the confidence, how to hit the task, hit the target without beating on the bush. So therefore at the beginning so much of beating at the bush. The moment you start shooting, that will become your own method, and more frequently you will develop how to shoot into the target without beating at the bush. So even then it says you have to master it 1001 times, and then only your own the backbone of the spirituality come into being. So that is why the Buddha says, I have nothing to do on that respect. I can give the methodology, I can give the confidence, but you have to run a risk at the cost of your life and the body. So therefore, the later commentators, they say, if you wish to sharpen your faculties like the faith, the energy, concentrate, mindfulness, concentrate on the wisdom, you have to sacrifice your desire, your love to your body as well as your life. So at the risk of your life and the body, you have to test it. Put into again and again. Therefore, when that happens, the kind of faith you are going to develop, it is called resolute faith. It is not a wavering kind of. Then onward you are not trying, you will be striving. You know the target, you are hammering again and again. And the kind of energy is not the initial kind of energy, it is sustenance kind of energy. Not a single discouragement can you drop you down. You know how to restart. It is called there's a doll called the tumbling Kelly. When you kick it, it is stand up. Burma, it's a national doll. Everywhere. Very common. When you kick it, it will again come back. So therefore, vicissitudes of life will be pull you off. Your spirituality will withdraw. But again, you know how to recuperate it. And you will again, next day morning, you will be again back at the field. And the mindfulness also, there's a discontinuous and haphazard mindfulness become a steadfast. That steadfastness happened by trial and error. The concentration also wavering, but even then mind is not wavering. When the concentration low, you know, and next day you know how to earn it, because your mind is always the beginner's mind. And the wisdom also, you never consider wisdom as something crystallizable, you will understand wisdom means lack of ignorance. That's all. Ignorance means you caught up with feeling, you caught up with perception, you caught up with the volitional, and that is due to not the second person, that is due to your own ignorance. Understanding that very weakness is the knowledge. That Buddha can't do it. That you have to do by your own trial and error. So imagine if someone is lucky to have such a group of people ready for this noble quest. So what a kind of voyage, what a kind of blissful situation. So that is what the Buddha says, samagganan taposukho. So for the meditators, if the harmony is there, these whole difficulties will be nullified and you will be happy soldier in the battlefield. And therefore, when you are practicing, if someone is doing mistakes and if he is not up to the situation, never look down. You have no rights. You have no powers. Because you also came by tottering from that stage. So how can you look down to other people? At any moment, he or she will come out. So therefore, you have to give as much as possible conducive condition for such to arise. Otherwise, your practice will be hindered. So your broadness, of course, this appears like a very insight, very sharp. But this is the way the compassion and the loving kindness develop. You can really share the other person's suffering. If someone is not rid of his or her ignorance, he or she is ever creating own suffering, perpetuating the suffering. So no way by punishing, no way by penalizing. Only the way you can do is sympathizing. Unless otherwise you sympathize yourself, very difficult to expect a sympathy from you to another person. This is the very point where you sympathizing yourself, incessant way, you keep on fighting whatever may the difficulty happen. So this is the mental state that is called doubts. It's such a destructive thing. It's such a disorganizing thing. So each and everyone is entertaining it, rather than understanding its danger, rather than understanding its wasteful nature. So therefore, often this doubt appear like wisdom. Doubt camouflage like wisdom. Under such circumstances, very difficult even for the Buddha to come and help. So one has to understand that wisdom means understanding the amount of ignorance we have. There is nothing called other crystallizable, sellable wisdom you can purchase by a supermarket. You can't buy supermarket from the wisdom. Only because it is something to understand own mistake, own ignorance. So this is a very important place. So therefore, many teachers says, you have to at least associate noble friends and groups till you overcome that. And then onward you become fairly independent. In the sense you can say even without interviews and the discussion, you can sort out yourself. But here it is not. This is a kind of a critical stage in the first path, up to the Sotapanna level. After that also this is happening, but you become self-sufficient, you can sort it out. You will fall down, but you can get up. So therefore, this stage you have to give... you have to facilitate as much as external factors, internal factors, all the kind of balance till you comfortably overcome this stage. So this become the fourth or the middle one. 3 before and 3 after. So therefore, this is been known as Chullasotapanna. Then onward, your enthusiasm, or not the enthusiasm, your courage to look forward need not any encouragement from the second person. You develop your own looking forward nature or sharpness to continue, unless otherwise the drastic thing going to happen. So therefore, up to that moment, you have to give the kick, and then onwards snowballing effect happens, just like a rock falling downhill. once it gathers the momentum, it's going on. So that's all I thought of sharing today for the today's Dhamma talk. Thank you very much for listening. And there were 3 questions, and I have dropped it over there. So it's I took it over there, but again I have forgotten. And I think this is your note. No, I took it specifically so to refer back in the this thing. And I read it, there's no much of very serious things. But there's one question asking how the meditation is going to give you getting rid of your undercurrent tendencies and how it leads to the spirituality and kind of thing. So here you can understand, if you are carefully meditating and see when the mind is calm and quiet, your undercurrent tendencies are natural to arise and your influxes are natural to arise. So you have to make the ground clear and let it happen. Let it come out. That is called catharsis. That is called the oozing out. That oozing out happens, it appears like very smelly. It appears like very dirty. It appears like very uncomfortable. But that is a catharsis. That catharsis indicates that purification is happening. But don't try to accelerate it. Never. That is the kind of a hindrance you can do. And don't try to critical upon them. You have to understand it is happening due to the early 3 purifications. So as a respect to the early purification, this in terms of doubt, they are going to happen. So don't suppress doubt also, don't entertain doubts also. So therefore, there onward the spirituality or religious nature is going to be inbuilt, coming in. So the Lakshmi's note is there. Yeah, I mean everyone's understanding will be much more good. Today, July 13, is my mother's 15th death anniversary. Her name was Hedwig Andy Soisa. Am I correct? Anna. Hedwig Anna Di Soisa. The Pirikara Dana was in her memory because she went to today the Pindapata and gave some Pirikara. And so we will say, may her mother be healthy, wealthy and happy. And we will say 3 times, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So anyway, that I have not misplaced, in a way misplaced, it is there, I will take the question. Meanwhile, if you have any other question, for the time being, welcome.
Garutara Swamin Wahansa, at one point you mentioned in today's sermon that in order to alleviate doubt, wisdom and faith, there should be a balance. So I am asking, sir, whether in order to keep that balance, maintain the balance, whether mindfulness is very important.
Yeah, mindfulness is the one going to understand what is happening. But mindfulness is by itself don't give any answer. It is a feasibility study. It get all the information unbiased. And when it comes to the table, now you have to put into the plan and implementation going to happen. There you can understand if you are too much of the wisdom, scrutiny, and it's a hacking, and it is becoming you may be increasing the doubt on that thing. Other side, if you are too much of faith, you will hate doubts, and that is also hindering the progress. So you have to have the balance in between. It says in the commentary, if you are too much of faith, that itself is hindering your wisdom. If the too much of wisdom, it is hindering your faith. So any person, those who have the balance, they become very shrewd. Good business people. They will never come to meditation. I mean, I am not telling, it is in this thing, adhika panyo manda saddo, adhika saddho manda panyo ube putto kairatika pakkam bhajati. Those who are both kairatika, very shrewd. They know how to tackle with the people using the faith and this thing, whatever may be, he knows. And they are very successful business people. They never come to meditation. So it's a kind of a luck by chance.
Venerable sir, there's another question, but most probably it's a very foolish question. How does rising and falling, not how does, can we fit in rise and falling, the method of meditation into this whole structure?
Yeah, instead of in-breath and out-breath, you can replace it by rising and falling, exactly the same. And the most important thing is, up to this point, the object of meditation, method, everything is valid. Beyond that, all the methods are equal, all the objects are equal. Because there onward, the perception is sorted out. Up to the perception is the one telling whether it is here or here, the rising and falling, or in-breath and out-breath. All these things are game of perception. The moment you raise your head above the water level of the perception, you understand whatever the object it may be, it has the same pattern, the beginning, the middle and the end. Any object you see, the beginning, the middle and the end, you get a distance. If you do not see, attachment. The distance sometimes appear like boredom. Sometimes appear like monotonous. Sometimes appear like fearful. Sometimes appear like lost. Decast. So therefore when it happens, if you misread it, misinterpret it, then again you are caught up in the whirlpool. When the attachment happens, what happens, it is well understood. So therefore that up to the Kanka Vitarana, the teachings, the teachers, methodologies, meditation systems, meditation centers are very specific. You have only one particular teacher, only one particular method, only one particular meditation center, others won't fit. But beyond that level, you can accommodate anything. So, even from the in-breath and out-breath, you can go to rising and falling. And even in the walking meditation, you can get the same. And even the samatha vipassana, different the methodologies all come in par with after this overcoming doubt situation.
Venerable sir, we didn't hear the question for the tape. Could you please repeat the question?
It is a question. It is a question. What did you mean by the difference or the different methods?
What did you mean by they're all the same after the doubts? What did you mean by that?
So that's before the overcoming doubts, the teachings, teachers, the meditation objects, all the things are very specific, very decisive and very, very sharp and stereotyped. But after the overcoming doubts, you become broad-minded. Anything can be a teacher. And then onward, the flowing wind also will be a very good teacher. The fireplace will be a good teacher. And the flowing river also will be a good teacher. Because everything is expressing the nature. But at the beginning, you have to have your specific favorite teacher, your specific favorite meditation object, your favorite meditation center. All these things are because of your stereotype, the blinkers. But here onward, the blinkers will be gone, but not permanently. In each and every sitting, you understand the limitations of your blinkers. And then only slowly, broad-mindedness happens. No, even if I say, it is not working. Even if I say, don't go, who is going to listen?
No, well, just want to find out whether it's wrong to go and just keep different methods.
The example given is, dug wells. Dug wells. Yeah. If you are going to dig the dug well in all the places, little by little, you will never reach the fountain. You have to select the one place and go deep into that, then only one day you will stuck with the fountain. Otherwise, very easy to start the dug well. The early part, 1 meter of the, is very easy. But then you feel it is boring, it is difficult, and instead of why you go and dig another well, another place. So you will be digging, never go to the fountain. But you have to strategically understand and then start. And that is the difference between trying and striving. Trying means you are not sure yet. Which teacher, which method, which center. But after testing, you come. And then onward, resolute faith, strive. No trying. Trying is utter wastage of resources. But how can we write a handbook to find the proper teacher, proper method? Only the trial and error method. So therefore don't worry about that is an already existing universal method. It's a little wasteful, therefore at the beginning the meditative life it is a painfully slow. It is not you, everyone is that. The day you come, raise your head above the water level, you understand it's a completely capitalistic system. No, the democratic, the socialist. We can't generalize what we are talking. That today in the midday questions, we are stuck with that how to do away with money, how to do away with the technology. That means you are thinking very broad to have this meditation experience to the whole universe. Even the Buddha never thought on that line. It's a very specific, only very few, little fraction only can understand it. But we keep it open, the table. But don't generalize it. That means you don't understand the profundity of Dhamma. So whenever you achieve something, you feel like sharing with your dear and near one, it is natural. But that very thing will hinder your progress. So therefore you have to be very, selfish. So therefore Theravada tradition is highly recognized as very selfish. That is why Mahayana says that till everyone become Buddha, you never become enlightened. Even the blade of grass. And that is the way they define it. You never become Buddha. But we say, in this very life, at the cost of anything, you go. So these are the two approaches.
Nissarana Visuddhi, is it the same? This Kanka Vitarana Visuddhi, the fourth one, is it the same as Chulla Sotapanna?
Yeah, at the Kanka Vitarana Visuddhi, the change happen is a kind of a hurdle. Understand the Chulla Sotapanna.
Bhante, the way I understood is, all of us belong to these three character types. If we can overcome the hurdle in that character type, that means you go to that.
That is a remarkable hurdle. It's an important hurdle. Till that you are beating on the bush, you are not hitting the target. Then only you understand my main problem is feelings, or my main problem is perception, or my main problem is volition. That not very clearly, just like a doctor writing a prescription, it is not clear. But fairly vague idea you can understand. And main thing is not to react, not to assume it. Just keep it as it is, a good thing, because you are diagnosing. So the approach to the suffering will be changed now. Earlier it was a punishment, it's an agony. But it's a diagnostic now. You are welcoming, you are understanding who am I. So when the pain happens, you understand, I am a kind of a person, the pain is my problem. Yet another person come and say, no, the inner chatter is my problem. Or some person will say, I have a lot of work, so I have no time. Otherwise I feel it, so they get engaged. So different character type. So that understanding, it has to do a self-diagnostic. When it happens, you are ready to change. That means the Buddha, in a invariable way it says, diagnosis of the problem is the very answer for the question. That is called Dassana Pahatabba. By looking at, it dissolves. That is exactly mentioned by the Einstein. He says, whenever you really understand the sun, that is the answer. If you don't understand the sum, whatever the formula you are going to apply, no use. You have to understand it. That understanding the sum means the answer, then what you are writing step by step for the examiner to understand it. But your understanding happened by understanding the question. So, but in the worldly way, we think question is separate and the answer is separate. The answer has to come from outside, or holy present and omnipresent God has to bless you, or the teacher has to give a gracing, or blah, blah, blah. But understanding of the problem is the main thing. So therefore, be welcome. Be ready to face the problem as such. That is the boldness. It happened by overcoming the doubt. Otherwise, you are always beating at the bush.
But the inner chatter belongs to the perception group.
Most of the time.
The
inner chatter talking internally, it is happening due to this misperception. And not leading anywhere.
And one more question. You said the girls become boys. Is
Transvestitis.
Okay. Is that when you know when to let the autopilot go? Is that it?
No, I mean you are ready to take a risk, running a risk. For my category, the females are not very happy to rush a risk. They are somewhat preservative. I know that the majority are females, so I am asking for a declaring war. Yeah. So this is the way I am provoking.
But that's a perception you have about women. That's wrong perception.
Yeah. Yes, raise the hands. Yes.
We have to have a balance of wisdom and faith. How do we know that? Balance and stuff.
So that if the faith is too much, you are believing everything happens, and you are not going to scrutinize. If that's exactly the thing what I mentioned. If the wisdom is there, you are whatever the good thing, bad thing, everything you are scrutinizing. And it's a wastage of time. So there you have to balance it. Unless otherwise they are extremes, very difficult to have a self-identification. So in the interviews only, the teacher may hint you at that moment, don't try to scrutinize, you just carry on, this is correct, this path is correct, carry on. Then you have to believe what the teacher says. So when I am doing interviews, I thought that teacher is just going to satisfy me, that is why he is telling good. I mean, teacher has no such a thing to satisfy you. They says nothing to worry, now we are in this thing, but don't try to accelerate it, just continue. So it appears like not first-hand consideration, it is kind of second-hand consideration. So because this is a very slowly, you have to acclimatize into this new area, from the conventional truth to the absolute truth. So, when you are climbing the mountain, for each and every 1,000 feet, you have to stay in a camp. Otherwise, the lack of oxygen going to give a giddiness and dizziness, you will never entertain the trip. So at the 1,000 feet time, have 1 or 2 days resting. So if someone says, I have no time, I have to rush, you are rushing to fainting, you are rushing to the giddiness, not the mountain. So therefore, the acclimatizing. Then and there have. This is one of the junction, in such junction.
What was the name of the sutta that you mentioned?
Not the sutta, it is the name of this purification. It is a purification of overcoming doubt. In Pali, it is called Kankha Vitarana Visuddhi. Kankha.
Don't know how to spell that.
K-A-N-K-H-A. K-N-A-K-H-A. Kankha. K-N-A-K-H-A.
K-N-A-H-A. Thank you.
K-N-A-K-H-A.
K-N-A-H-A.
K-N-A-K-H-A.
K.
K-N-A-K-H-A.
A-K-H-A. Got it.
Kankha. No, the Mahaprabhu. Kankha. Vitarana, V-I-T-H-A-R-A-N-A.
Okay.
Vitarana.
K-N-A-K-H-A.
Kanka.
Okay.
This is the long term. Still you have to continue. Vitarana.
Oh.
V-I-T-H-A-R-A-N-A.
V-I-T-H-A.
R-A-N-A.
R-A-N-A.
A-N-A. Vitarana. Visuddhi.
Visuddhi.
V-I-S-U-D-H-I. Visuddhi means the purification. Yeah. This is the fourth purification. Yeah. So this is the English term. So sorry, Pali term. Saka.
This is from the fourth what?
Yeah, fourth purification.
Oh yeah. Fourth.
Fourth Visuddhi. No. That is the way it is differ.
Can all these three come to one person?
No. That individual has their own traits. So generally it is the passa, the contact can give to the Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara. That means three, not the bifoc, how to call three, we divide into three. It's two we call bifoc and the trifurcation. So when the path comes to trifurcation, you have to be very sensitive to understand what is the relevant path for you. So this is a critical point. Don't rush. If you are rushing, again you have to come back and to the junction and find the correct path. So therefore, this is very take time to season yourselves and to understand. That understanding means understand your weakness, understand your the rut, understand your liking and dislike.
This is all in the Rathavinitha.
Rathavinitha Sutta.
Thank you.
It's I think number 24 or something like that in the Majjhima Nikaya.
So Bhante, all these three types, you said sometimes you can be trying to rush through these things. All three types have the characteristic of trying to rush through the process or whatever.
Generally speaking, one person has a particular bottleneck. It's a personality feature, personality trait. He's always having the desire is his personality feature. Such a person is worried about the pleasure and pain. The other type is the thinking, scrutinizing kind. The perception is the muddy place. The perception is the bottleneck. So understand it. Some people are reformist. Anything they are not happy, they want to do adjust it and make it efficient, make it more profitable and all the kind of things. So these people are get hooked up with sankhara. So that you have to see when the inner peace come into being, and when the black hole, when you go there, just see, wait and see what is the naturally coming, what is the propping up. That indicates your personality trait. Don't rush to put something. Don't reject what is arising. So you just understand, just wait and see what is coming. So it basically happened the last minute of your sitting. The last moment, you are getting up due to a hindrance, due to a difficulty, due to a kind of unrest. So if you are going to rush, you miss the bus. You have to understand why I am getting up. I am not telling to sit for the whole day, but at least get the hint. So one day I explained that I think it is relevant to this one, that when I am giving the interviews, so much of tears are coming. It is not crying or it's not emotional. I feel this is wet and mouth is wet and ultimately it dried off. And dried off, then I got up. And then I had to ask, are you mindful when you are getting up? I told no. Because I thought that episode is finished, I got up. He says, next time when it happens, you understand why I am getting up. What is the proximate cause for the getting up? There's no such a substantial cause. But it will push you out of your sitting. What is that? That you have to be sharp. That you have to be aware. Each day when you are getting up, that even the message come to get up, you just sit and see, wait and see, is it justifiable? What is it? Ultimately you find there's no substantial thing, but you emotionally, you will get washed off, get up and go like. So that is the time you have to very carefully understand. After observing 3-4 times, you will see there's some kind of a trends, some kind of a messages there.
Bhante, also the beginning of the source of the in-breath is the end of the out-breath. Is that right?
There's a gap in between.
So the gap is the source.
I mean, it is coming out of nothing. Something coming out of nothing. And something is dissolving into nothingness. And then the nothingness, another thing arises. That is very well explained in the quantum physics. In the energy field, the quantum is a kind of a concentration of energy. When it is disappearing here, in the same field, someone has to come. That is the way the reincarnation being explained by the කවුද ප්‍රොෆෙසර් ඉන්නේ අපේ මෙහි මෙල්බන් වල Granville that he take this quantum physics in the quantum field. If the one quantum is disappearing, we don't know why it is disappearing. If each moment it disappear, in order to maintain the balance somewhere same thing has to happen. It is not the same thing, but not otherwise also. Exactly the thing when the momentum is there, one person is dying here in this plane, somewhere it has to come. So before the quantum theory, it appears like mystics. But the quantum theory itself now accepts that. So through that, you can put the karma results, or the reincarnation, that kind of thing. It exactly happens when the breath stops. In-breath stops, there's a propellancy inside. You can't keep it. Something you need sucking again. That is the bhava tanha. Sucking again, then again you suck. Once you sucking, you feel uncomfortable. You feel like exhausting again. So one thing is pushing into the other. But each and every one independent phenomena, there's a gap. From the gap only, this becomes a in-breath phase, it becomes the out-breath phase. But the gap is the way out. But you start with the cross in-breath and out-breath.
Reverence, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Exhausting you.
We'll see.
Yes.
I don't think so.
Thank you, sir. Going back to the previous explanation, yours. Now, once, if the person, yogi, gets up at a sitting, won't he recall what led him to the getting up subsequently? Won't he recall?
I didn't get the question. You have to repeat it.
Venerable sir, you mentioned about the once at a sitting, you'll have to be mindful before you get up.
Yes.
So, supposing you get up without sort of finding it out, discovering it, subsequently can't you recall it?
If you at least at that moment or subsequently, you must understand that is something very important point. Getting up point is something important. That is the message. You can be on the spot, red-handed, you can understand, or later you can recall. Whatever may be, why you are getting up is something that you have to answer. There you get a message. After a while, it is not necessarily over there, but red-handed then and there, you get a better advantage. By analyzing, you can get a chance to sit further. If you are analyzing it, you will understand there is no substantial reason. Then there you can reconsider and sit few minutes more. But if you get up and go and recovery, certain amount of, compensation happen, but on the spot, if you can do it, you can little extend the sitting session.
But probably the problem is all of us have pain, all of us have inner chatter, all of us feel we should go and do something. So can the character type change from day to day?
That is also possible, but roughly you can say Westerners are inner chatter type. Easterners are the kind of faith-based kind of thing. So one day Sayadaw made such a statement. He told, if you are intellectual type and the Western thinkers, they are always thinking. So whenever the calm meditation center happens, you go and start inner chatter. Keep on doing and no use. But the Eastern people is full of faith. And then he says, he didn't apologize, he says, but you have to consider, Venerable Sariputta is kind of a faith-based and Moggallana is scrutinizing type. So Westerners may be descending from the Venerable Maha Sariputta. No, sorry, Moggallana. The Easterners may be descending from the Sariputta. They are different people because Moggallana is a kind of a person, very sharp, and he can tackle only Sotapanna people. When Sariputta is very faithful, he can tackle the Putujjana, normal commoners, and he can push up to the Sotapanna level. So he is like a mother, the parturition, that is giving the birth to the noble life. And once the birth happens, Venerable Moggallana is the father raising the child. So like the mother and father. So they have two different characters. They are no good and bad, but generally some people having some the tendencies, you can, very difficult to say black and white and cut and dry kind of thing, changing also to take place, and you may say that the early part of your life is more towards the feelings. Middle part is more towards the perception. And the latter part may be some volitional. That kind of a change is also there.
Bhante, I have a list of things that I was going to ask you in interview privately, but since you brought this up, I would like to pursue it. This business, and this is what I was going to say. I'm going to read part of it. It's like, it says, but there's this inner wind from within me in meditation, right? I won't have any pain. I could go on for hours. I feel like I could go on for days, but at a certain time, and I'm talking pre-knee injury, it's like, okay, got to get up, but don't have to. Is that what you're talking about?
When the pain is concerned.
No, well, we just forget the knee, okay, because this was before the knee injury, that I'm talking about. Even now, I could go on for however long, but certain time inside there's this inner wind. It's just, and I'm going, darn, I don't need to do this. I could stay here for hours, right? Nope, I'm up. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that is the point.
I don't know how else to express it.
Yeah.
Other than
yeah. That is the point. You are checking whether your attention has any plasticity.
I don't know for sure how to apply that because I've tried to see why it is. I'll sit there and be in meditation. It'll be, I'm not going to let it push me up this time because I'm not hurting and I can go, up I go.
Yeah. So when it happens, three methods. One thing you can forget about, or can you react positively or negatively. So when the inner wind comes, if it is a bearable level, you can forget about and go. But otherwise, you can get up and go. Or you can suppress and wait. So these are the three possible options.
The preference is to stay, but it's gotten me up.
Purpose is to?
The preference has been to stay in meditation, but I've ended up getting up. It's just kind of like there's this other thing shoving me up.
Yeah.
So what do I do about it, and how do I analyze my type based on that?
There is no fixed answer. We are analyzing the situation. So the inner wind is coming and pushing you out from asking you to get up and go. But your intention is to keep as long as possible. So there's a wrestling now.
It's like a time clock.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it rings.
So at the beginning, you can cope up with. At the time passes, you have to give into. You have to give the way into. So as the critical point happens, then now again the urge comes, the wind comes, and you have three options. Before it happens, you just forget about and wait. Now it is critical. Or you can get up, or you can suppress and squeeze and do. So these are the three options you can have.
Well, I know the options, but only one thing happens usually, and that's up. Yeah, that's what I mean. There's this inner wind. It's just, I'm up.
Yeah, so if it is so, what is the question then?
So what type is, how do I analyze that type from that? Because you were saying it's at the end of...
But single kind of, that kind of a thing, very difficult to arrive at the sharp answer. You have to analyze, you have to understand this in 1,001 times, only then can arrive at a decision. But a single one moment, one single one event, you can't arrive at a decision whether you are a feeling type or perception type or kind of a volitional type. But anyway, now we are talking about the feeling. Decision, the basic cause is a feeling.
Inner wind.
Yeah.
But is it
no,
boredom?
you are talking about not the feeling, the inner wind.
The inner wind.
Yeah. So that is the self body knowledge is now working.
Is working.
Yeah, body knowledge is working, and very difficult to say. Venerable Jnanarama, my teacher, when he was analyzing, he says, now you know number of times the inner wind came, and you manage, now this time no more. Now it is going to push.
Okay.
Or you are going to say only once it happened and you are getting up.
No, this is not once.
It's a process.
It goes on time after time after time.
Now you have to understand, now you are in the main track. Now you have to take an exit in the motorway. You are on the motorway, now you have to take an exit. And there are a set of rules, the traffic rules. Even if you have to go to take a safety exit, you have to have the traffic rules. And exactly the same way, the Buddha says, 4 sampajanyas. Sāttaka sampajanya, sappaya sampajanya, gochara sampajanya, and asammo sampajanya. So now the urge happens. Instead of quickly getting up, you have to analyze it and see, after getting up, am I going to go to a posture which is suitable for my mindfulness, or it is going to destroy all the character, all the mindfulness. So after getting up, what I am going to do? Is it worthwhile? Or is it just a reaction to the pain?
No pain. No pain. That's the thing. I could sit for hours.
Yeah.
After that.
Maybe whatever may be the inner wind come and your posture will be disturbed. And after disturbing, what are you going to do?
I would go downstairs and read or go to bed. Get ready for work the next day.
So that is kind of escapism.
Is that it?
Yeah. So that I am not telling it's a good or bad.
No,
so it says Sāttaka Sampajanya, which is a worthwhile. And Sappaya, is it suitable for your yogic life?
You mean the getting up?
The getting up, but the next thing you are going to do, is it unbecoming, or is it within your capacity of the yogic life? That's the second thing you have to consider.
Okay. Like getting ready for work.
Yeah. And if it is worthwhile thing, and you may justify it. So, Sāttaka Sampajanya, the Gochara Sampajanya, and if it is happening now, you are getting up and go for walking meditation, well and good. You are still the mindfulness. And if you are going to do the next job with the mindfulness, and if you are taking, even the posture is changing, if you can maintain the mindfulness, and it is not much of a loss. And even if it is so, ask him to do it in a slow manner.
Okay.
So that no much of jerks and shakes, so the mindfulness disturbs. So this is the way, if you have the chance, you have to do it in the gradual basis. So that means all of a sudden you are not going to take the exit. You have to put the signals and let the other people know that I am going to take a signal. You have to slow down and take the other way. Otherwise, the oncoming vehicles behind. I am talking example of the motor traffic, motorway. That is the way, whenever you are in a one streamline or one motorway, the changing of the posture, always dangerous, always risk. There you have to follow the traffic code. Otherwise, other people will be disturbed.
So, if I am in my half lotus position and inner wind comes, I get up, and let's say I go into a standing position. So what's the transition between the half lotus to the standing position that I have to be careful about? What are specifically
so
what are you saying?
You have to mindfully stand up. You have to understand now sitting to the standing position. So it is not it appear like a one single operation, but lot of small operations are going to, you are putting the hand and getting up and all the limbs are happening. So you are just observing as much as possible with the mindfulness.
Okay, I don't want to eat up dominate the whole question thing here, but you were mentioning initially your first reaction was, well, that's escapism. Now, what would one be escaping from if they're getting a little bit irritated over that inner wind pushing them up anyway? Where's the escapism coming in?
Escapism is that you are not analyzing, instead you are going to give another alternative. You are not going to understand what is happening, what is the mechanism behind.
Okay.
So that is kind of escapism. So instead, you being a yogi, and you are taking time for a retreat like that, so you go to the next best thing. If it is so, before going into that, you have to you have to wait, and then you can go into that. Otherwise, the mind can come and cheat you.
Right.
So that is the only thing you have to take care. Do the least damage, or go for the next best.
Or just, okay, now, here's what I tried one time, and I was dissatisfied with it, but maybe it's what you're saying I should do. I tried to slug it out, right? I'm not moving. But then the next half hour or so was just a complete waste. I mean, I'm just constantly trying to go ahead and compete, with the inner wind. I just didn't get any place at all. So, I mean, is that what you were talking about? Just resist it, and then after a while?
I will challenge you with few questions. So, now you have decided to stay, even with the inner wind.
Right.
And being there, your mind become agitated and not much calm and serene, but you are fighting, struggling.
Right.
You consider it is as a waste.
I certainly did at the time, yeah.
Yeah. If it is to be a waste, that is because you are doing with hatred.
Okay.
If you can do it, you can understand now the hatred is the underlying tendency, that is why the wind comes. But you can see how this hidden hatred is manifesting. You are really struggling. You are like a soldier at the battlefield. And you very think your judgment is telling you are defeated. Finished. It's a wastage of time. That means the underlying hatred is blemishing the situation.
Hatred toward what?
Underlying the underlying tendency called the hatred, it is not clear as already arisen one. It is a camouflage. So you have to understand, your judgment is fairly partial or fairly unbiased because of the underlying tendency that you have not seen. This is the only time, if you are sharp enough to see how these underlying tendencies are coming and doing the marvelous things.
When you say hatred, could that also mean anger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of you are reacting to the inner wind.
So that would be a mode of reaction, a mode of response, in other words.
No response, a reaction.
Reaction.
Yeah.
Reaction.
Yeah. So that, when the reaction happens, still, if you are sharp enough, you can understand, it is not your will, it is not your intention, it is not your motivation, but things happen. So they are, I am working with whose agenda then? And there you have to understand our mind has its own agenda. It is not our well-being. It is not my well-being. Mind has its own agenda. So you have to do it. You have to let it happen and observe as if someone else. The situation you have to observe. Not I am not doing because this is not my wish. But I am being pushed, propelled. But whose agenda ultimately we are working with? So then you have to understand there is a kind of underlying current, undercurrent, that's anusaya or asava. So they are working not when the meditation is good and well. It is happening whenever the meditation is disturbed. So there you have to have the double-fold mindfulness, but this is the worst time because we are exhausted with the mindfulness. Very difficult to understand that situation. But take as much as possible in the productive way. How that? After all, with whose agenda that I am working?
I did not hear the last comment.
Whose agenda? It is not my will. I wanted to stay, but the inner wind comes. That is not my wish. But it is so powerful, it pushes you out of the sitting posture. So that you have to understand the mind has double game. At a time you want to sit, at a time it is pushing. So to see the double game, you have to look at from the distance, not get involved manner, in a distance way. It is called that getting a distance from the phenomena and observe in the neutral way. It is the mainly says that when the surgeon is doing the operation, they have to get the clinical detached from the patient. Likewise, is also now happening. You have to get a kind of a distance and observe it. That's one of the responsibilities of the yogi. But the other people are not concerned about that. They will be moved by the inner propellants. And they are not analyzing, they are not worried about. But we have to make use of the situation as much as possible. The first, second, third events, you are definitely at defeat. You can't see it. But after a while, you develop certain amount of skillfulness, how to tackle this kind of thing and see the double game of the mind.
So basically, meditate until that wind comes and then get practice dealing with it.
Yeah, there you understand how the perception works, how the volitional activities are working, how the hedonic feelings, the pleasure-seeking thinking going to happen. So that is how you understand the formula, the under the carpet circuit.
Thank you.
And if we stand up because we are bored, do we belong to the first category?
Bored?
Yes, boredom.
Yeah, boredom related to?
Is that the first group, the feeling?
No, the boredom is a rather common broad area. Due to the feeling also you can feel bored. Due to the misunderstanding of the perception also you can understand, you can be bored. And whenever the volition happen, your enthusiastic thing not happen, then also the boredom can happen. So this is a boredom happy like it's a camouflage of the at the Kankha Vitarana Visuddhi level. All the three characters.
When I hear this, I can feel that I'm a little bit slack in my practice. I get also up too early when I have anger. This tension. So what do you recommend? When is the time to get up actually? When you...
That is, I wanted to talk when you are talking also, I wanted to take this issue. This happened to me very recently because I had the back pain. So often I feel the moving up and down and sort of thing, and it is related with the chest pain and kind of thing. Later it happened me to meet yogi master. And he says when you are sitting comfortably, sitting symmetrically, it is good for the long time. But otherwise, if you start with something crooked and it is accumulating and the inner wind become very powerful, instead he asked me to do few yogic exercises. So when the sitting, you bend forward and backward. So when you are the bending forward, up to a certain extent you can go there normally, and then some muscles going to give here and there pain, and they have to stop it. And don't come back, he says stop there and develop the muscle memory. Muscle memory means you just think about the painful muscle. And then, observing, and you are maintaining the same posture, and observe the painful muscle, sometimes it releases then and there. Then you can bend further. If the muscle memory is working, and then you come back again, and again come there, and then another muscle can come, and you have fixed the muscle pain there. And when the muscle pain is muscle memory, when the muscle memory is going to work, that by observing it without hatred or without kind of thing, that relaxation happens, more and more relaxation, you can go deep and deep, the bending. So therefore, at that moment, without rushing, if you just analyze the situation from the bird's eye view and see which muscle is painful, and be compassionate and just observe that muscle, then relaxation happens. So ultimately you can go to the perfect yogic posture. Because at the critical moment, you are not rushing but observe it. How the mechanism happens, what is the circuit it happens. And when that's sorted out, and next problem going to happen. And then you sort it out. And ultimately the most perfect yogic posture, you can go there. So therefore these are indication. If you are skillful, you can make use it. In the yogic exercises, what they do is, you ask to go to the maximum of your possible, and then stop there and breathe. Breathing means again squeezing and releasing, squeezing and releasing. So you get a little chance to go a little further. And the muscle memory happens. You do it and again do breathing. And there you can go further. Because the ever capacitization, ever increasing it happens. So therefore more you experiment, more and more methods you understand your body and your memory capacity or the mental capacity, and it is ever beneficial, ever productive. In the meditation also, at the beginning you may do it, never mind. But after a while you have to take it up and do it in the enlarge it, amplify it and see where it is happening and how it's happening kind of thing. That is what the sampajanya, that's what the clear comprehension the Buddha mentioned. Anyway, now it is 10 o'clock. Okay, assuming that there are no more questions, maybe I am pressing not to ask questions. We will go to mark the end of the day's program.